Welcome, guys, to Remax episode 56, October 15, 2015. What a time to be alive. This week, we're going to be talking to you guys about some of the stuff that's happening in the StarCraft scene, such as the release of the BlizzCon schedule, which mentions the StarCraft 2 panels and their content. Also, the beta patch of last week. We'll be talking to you about DRG leaving Esbinu, and we'll be talking about the community feedback that David Kim posted today, October 15. So let's get to the intros. Someone that hasn't been on the show in quite a while, traveling Europe, living the life of the caster life, making a lot of esports dollars. Nathanius, how have you been?
Been good. It's been a while since I've been on any of these talk showy type things or whatever, but I don't know. I kind of thought the topics were interesting and figured I might as well get my passion back, start talking about StarCraft again, you know?
Yeah.
The dream.
You enjoyed your vacation, right? Where did you go exactly? Which country did you do?
I just went to the Netherlands for like 2 weeks or so. It was really nice. Stroopwafels are amazing. If you're Dutch and you're watching this, your fast food is actually pretty good because I usually hate everything that I eat that's not American fast food, but the Dutch stuff was actually quite good. Checked out Utrecht, went by the canals, went to Amsterdam. It was a pretty fun place.
Nice. Did you go to the red light district?
Yeah, I had to look around, of course. You can't go there and not at least look around. It was actually pretty interesting. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know, just like, I guess something you kind of have to see for yourself, but I didn't quite realize it's like there. I don't know.
Okay. Bales, what about you? I know you've won land in Philadelphia. How was it? Did you enjoy your time there?
Yeah. Basically, these people local to Philadelphia put on this event called Chooseadelphia, and my team, Flipside Tactics, flew me out. And also, it was basically Flipside Tactics players versus Sidestorm players, like No Regret. Their manager and other players from Sidestorm came, and then we also had players like Silky come and Padre from my team, so it was pretty fun.
Nice. By the way, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show this to the stream, but I was looking at your Twitter page, and your header is hilarious because we see No Regret in the corner.
Yeah.
And he looks so freaking spooky.
Yeah, he does.
He really, all you see is an eye of No Regret. I'm showing it on stream right now the best I can, but great Twitter picture there, Bells. What about you, Mo? How have you been with the Protoss life? I saw you make quite an epic comeback on stream an hour ago.
Oh yeah, I've been doing good, man. Still playing out Protoss for fun. Actually, it's really fun. The thought has crossed my mind that I might actually stay with Protoss. No decisions have been made though. I can't speak for my viewers, so they have been complaining quite a lot.
Are they really complaining? Do they really miss the good old days of you playing Terran?
Yeah, it's like all day, every day. I'm getting kind of sick of it. So I've actually been playing some without streaming. So, which is pretty much the first of this year, actually, is playing StarCraft without streaming.
Do you think you've lost more subs switching? Or it's remained the same?
I think, yes. But, yeah, I don't, well, if it's because of switching, I don't think so. But I lost subs because I was away for a week, which is very normal.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
What about you, Desron?
I actually was featured in a documentary on Quebec television. It was really cool, and a lot of French Canadians have tuned into my channel since, and they're like, "Oh my God, Desro! I don't know StarCraft, but this was really cool." And so that's great. That's just it's like a documentary explaining esports. So you know, us, the StarCraft scene, we've watched many documentaries. The one about MVP, the one about Jaedong, the one about Tastosis. Well, I guess we can forget about that one, but so we kind of know how it goes. So it was nice to see one done by French Canadians about French Canadian players. But yeah, let's get into it. The BlizzCon, and this topic is like, I guess not the greatest in this history, but just the content of those panels basically. There's going to be 3 StarCraft 2 panels. One is about heart, as in like artistic stuff. We don't really care. One of the panels is going to be the future of SC2. Hear about the future of StarCraft 2, including plans to continue enhancing the gameplay experience beyond Legacy of the Void's launch. So, I'm going to ask Nathanius first. When you hear that, do you think they're mostly going to focus on Allied Commander, or do you think they have like real ambitious plans for enhancing the gameplay beyond the launch?
I mean, I kind of hope it's both, right? Because they're gonna be playing around with a lot of stuff. I think people like already found like models in the game for. Well, I guess it wasn't like a secret or whatever. Like dragoons and reavers and shit are gonna be in the Allied Commanders, or like think like Dark Archon. So they're gonna have a lot of stuff to work with. So I think if they can keep pushing that, they can probably get more of the casual players in. If it's not like a super expensive type thing, or if any of it's like episodic and like a freeway. But I'm expecting it to be focused on that, trying to get the casual players into it. And I imagine it'll also be for multiplayer as well, because they've already been doing that. So maybe it'd be like, I don't know if I could say it'd be like a pseudo expansion type though, with like a new unit. I feel like that would be pretty crazy, but I wouldn't mind, if they continue to explore design changes post-release at some extent.
Okay. And one of the other panels is going to be learn from the StarCraft 2 multiplayer, how it will evolve after Legacy of the Void, including ladder improvements and what they've learned from the beta. Bales, what's your take on the ladder? Do you think it can be improved? Is there anything you don't actually like the GM system or anything like that?
Yeah, I really don't like the current GM system. It seems too easy to get and to stay in. So if you get in at the start of the season, you're pretty much set for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But they also didn't really state what they're going to change, so it's kind of all in the air right now.
Yeah.
And whatever.
What's your take on barcodes, Bales? We've talked about it before on the show, but you weren't here, so what's your take on it?
I definitely like barcodes. I mean, if you don't have a barcode, it's going to be something else. It's going to be a Smurf, so it doesn't really matter if it's a barcode or not. Players are always going to have Smurfs, whether it's a barcode or not, so...
Okay, interesting. Morrow, what about you? What do you think they've learned from the beta when it comes to ladder and maybe like the automated tournaments? Have you played any automated tournaments, by the way?
No, I didn't play an automated tournaments myself. Because it's not really appealing to me as a pro gamer. I mean, I'll play real tournaments where I can actually win money.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I don't have too much opinion about the ladder. Like, I've never personally cared about ladder rank or anything like that, and I've never had problems, ranking up or anything. So, your average casual player probably has more to say about, the ladder experience.
Okay. It was a little bit concerning to me that David Kim posted that ladder design is something that will be evolving over the next year, starting with Season 1. So starting with Season 1, that's like the good news, but that the fact that it will be evolving means that it's probably not going to be shipped with the game. Obviously, ladder is not the most important thing. It's more important for the core, hardcore group of players for StarCraft. But we'll see where it goes. And that pretty much wraps up this very short topic on the panels. If you want to watch the panels, you're going to have to buy a virtual ticket for BlizzCon. I'm sure there's going to be like a restream on Twitch that's going to be shut down 5 minutes after, and you're going to be sad. But otherwise, you're going to have to pay $40 to watch the virtual. Obviously, people will be making updates on Twitter. Last time I went, even Nathanius as a caster was in the backstage tweeting updates as they went live during the panels. Hopefully, I get to ask a few questions again to David Kim. That was really great. Like all these noobs that just go and ask questions about something like super not OP. I was one of those, and that was a great experience.
What did you ask?
I asked something about, I think, the skins or something. David Kim kind of dodged my question. But the thing is, like, you can tell, like, the lady asks you, like, what's going to be your question? And you can ask something super, like, standard. And after that, you don't have to stick to that question. You can be like, yo, David, like, what do you like for breakfast or something? So maybe someone will troll harder this time. So the balance patch last week, October 9, Very small patch. All the patches have been going down in sizes because we're getting closer to the release. Mo, maybe actually let's go with Bells. So the warping has been nerfed from 5 seconds or from 2 seconds to 5 seconds for pylons and warp prisms. Do you think that's too extreme? Do you think that's okay? Do you still like the game and the way it is?
I mean, obviously, I prefer to have 2-second warp ins, but at the same time, it did feel a little broken when you could just fly a warp prism over the Terran's main and instantly have like 18 adepts. Actually, having 3 more seconds is a lot of time for the Terran to defend, so it seems a lot more fair. I'm not sure if it's balanced yet, but like it seems okay right now,
Yeah.
or at least better.
A few players complained on Reddit that you should be able to issue commands while it's warping in, because not being able to press hold position while it warpins is really annoying for a wall type of things. So maybe that's something that they could improve in the gameplay department. The adept was nerfed. The HP was nerfed by 10. So nerfing the HP again one more time, and then the unit warping in no longer receiving double damage more. Are you okay with that?
You mean overall? Well,
Like,
as the
yeah.
warping change, I think that was good, because I think his 2 seconds was like, it was his warp prism harass was too way too strong. Like, my suggestion was that I was gonna nerf warp prism warping, and I thought the pylon thing was kind of fine when you warp in at home and stuff like that. But having that back to hardware storm way is, I mean, I guess it's fine, because Protoss got by with 5 seconds in hardware storm. So, I like whenever Zerg did like Sterling run by or anything, just warping units in 2 seconds, it just felt a little bit too strong. So I think that was a good change. The adept nerf, I think that was just really random. Like, adept got nerfed into the ground, and people were like immediately noticing people using less and less adepts every game, and then just they nerf it again, like just completely out of the blue.
So Nathanius, you were nodding your head. Do you not like the no longer receive double damage when warping in?
I was of the same mind of Mara. I wish they just found a way to give the warp prism its own upgrade or something, or make it so that it's less of a problem. Because the biggest issue is that once the warp prism gets in your base, like, there's so many, and I mean, anybody that's played beta has experienced the drop 4 adepts warp in. It's like 5 X plus whatever more instantly, and then you're kind of just fucked because they all appear like so fast that double damage doesn't matter. So I like the 2-second warp in for defense back home. I think everything that allows Protoss to take expansions is good, because it eventually allows us to not have the game balanced around shitty maps that force everything into, you know, like we've had for the last 5 years. So I would prefer to see, I don't know, a more rounded way. I don't like the just going back to the hot style for it, because it kind of removes, I don't know, some of the more interesting aspects of a new game, in my opinion.
Yeah. One thing that makes me sad that they nerfed no longer receive double damage is there's less decision making. Like, yeah, it warps in for 5 seconds, you have more time to shoot it down, but there's no like incentive to shoot it down right away. And so that's a decision that's removed from your options. That's kind of sad. Disruptor can now be loaded into Warp Prism while Purification Nova is active. Mo, have you found that to be useful?
I haven't used it in my own games yet, but this is actually a suggestion I made myself to Blizzard directly, and they thought it was a great idea, and then they decided to add it to the game. So that feels like I contributed a lot to that change, and I think it's awesome. But I think like something like that takes a lot of skill, but you will see it later when players get better. Like when you have disruptive wars, you get to this awkward moment sometimes where you have like one-on-one disruptor. It's actually really common. You kind of just shoot in fog of war, since the range is longer than the sight range, and then just if you shot after the other guy, you're just fucked and you lose your disruptor. So this would be a way that you could solve that kind of coin flip scenario. So you could save it by just picking it up. We'll also encourage like disruptor with Warp Prism in general if you want to harass worker lines or anything. So I mean, I think it's a great change. It's just you don't see that every game, obviously.
What about you, Bales? As a real pro gamer, have you tried to load up the disruptor into your
Wow.
war prism?
I mean, if you load it up while the disruptor shot has shot, I mean, doesn't it cancel
Yeah, it
the disruptor
cancels it.
shot?
It cancels it, but it gives you more
So
Yeah.
options. Yeah.
does it like reset the cooldown though? Because if it doesn't, this like the cooldown is really long. So like
Yeah, it
I don't
doesn't
think it's
res.
actually that like it's only good to save your disruptors, not to like make plays happen. Like
Hmm.
it's probably most important in PvP where like it's disruptor wars, but like against Terran or Zerg, it's just gonna cancel the disruptor shot anyway. So
Yeah, but that's exactly the point.
Hmm.
It's meant to save the disruptor.
Yes. All right.
So the whole point of that was that if you fired your disruptor shot and they split, you were just gonna lose your disruptor because you couldn't pick it up while it was channeling,
mm,
right, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just gives more options to your playstyle. And then they buff the Cyclone, the movement speed from 394 to 472. But those are Legacy of the Void speeds. So I forgot, I should have wrote it down. I
It's
read it
pretty
somewhere.
fast.
Yeah, it's fast, but it's not like Phoenix fast or something like that, right?
Mm-mm. It's for the biggest thing I noticed because I actually managed to play a lot yesterday actually on this patch is I guess it's a bit easier to dance around like roaches with speed off creep. I guess you can kite them more easily, stuff like that. But um, I don't know. It didn't seem like it made too much of an impact, to be honest. It's just kind of more fun because you can dance around a bit more if you're willing to bank up 3,000 minerals microing your cyclones.
Yeah. The Cyclone's such a weird unit. We talked about it a lot last week. Like it doesn't seem to have like a good place in the game. And they actually addressed that. We're gonna go straight into the community feedback, and then we'll get the RG for the end. When I say that, I mean we're gonna talk about it. He's not coming on. All right, community feedback October 15. David Kim posted a big blog about the beta in general, how much they've changed and how much they're not gonna change because they're releasing in a month, and so they feel like the game is in a good place right now, and the direction is quite good. And so they addressed 4 units. The Cyclone, they're not sure. They're thinking about changing it a lot because they're not sure that what they have right now is good. So instead of the Cyclones being an all-around unit, they have a lot more success with the unit being really micro-intensive. So they want basically the lock-on to do more damage. You've read the blog, right, Nathanius?
Yeah, the one that was put out today, right?
Yeah. So what did you think of what they had to say about the Cyclone?
I was of the mind that the hit points were really high when it first came out. It was at like 200. I think now it's 160, and it's very noticeable for anyone that's tried to play. I personally like to play a lot with Cyclones. The damage increase could make it better,
Mm-hmm.
but going lower than 160 hit points, it is a bit scary. I don't know. It's just a scary thought because already you're kind of getting rid of the tankiness of it because it has more hit points than like all your other mech units. So I don't really mind it. I guess the idea is if you're microing it well, it shouldn't take that many hits anyway, right? So lower hit points is just going to balance out that uncatchability or kiteability.
Mm-hmm. Morrow, what are your thoughts on that change?
I'm not really sure. Like the Cyclone, I'm not sure what they want to do with this unit, what it's supposed to be, even. But the thing is, like, if you make it fast, which they did in the last patch or whatever, and then you make it more of a glass cannon, you improve its kiting ability, and we might just go back to early beta where it was just you build Cyclones and you kite everything in the game. And this is looking like we're going in that direction here.
Yeah.
What about you, Bells?
Is it at 160 right now, or are they thinking about changing it to 160?
No, it's at 160 right now.
Oh, and they're gonna lower it, is what they're saying?
Yeah, that's
Oh.
basically what they're saying.
I still think if they lowered it, it's still pretty tanky. I don't know, even if they go to like 120 or something, it's still a lot of hit points if it's just kiting. So I think it's okay.
I have a really hard time with using them in really any composition because they're so expensive. So lowering their hit points more for me, it's just like kind of it's like why would you? I don't know why you'd even try to build this because it already takes so much micro to even make it useful anyway. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of the Cyclone anyway. Not anymore.
All right, next up, they're talking about the Infestor. They said that they understand the community likes Neural Parasite just because of the cool factor of being able to mind control something, and that replacing it was not the way to go. So they've thought about increasing the range back to 9 so that this way only siege units would be able to fight back. Let's see what else they said. So they think fungal growth is in a nice place, and I should have fucking read a notes. He wrote like so much about it. Yeah, that's basically it. Like the goal, he says the main goal for the Infestor is not to have the unit C play in every single game of every matchup, but we want this caster to be powerful in specific strategies or scenarios. So Mo, as someone who used to play Zerg, do you think this change of Neural Parasite going like increasing in range should have been done a long time ago? Because that's Neural Parasite is not something that we've seen a lot in Art of the Swarm, right?
Yeah, I mean it's like it used to be very common that you used it. I mean, when I had 9 range, you would do it like against Thors, Immortals, Archons, Colossus, like pretty much anything. Like it was fucking crazy. And then they nerfed it to the ground, so nobody used it anymore. Like I never thought it was like a well-designed ability, but if it had 9 range, it would just, I think it would be really good again. Of course, people don't really make, mask Thors anymore when they make, for example. People don't really, Colossus either. But I still think that if we saw it at 9 range, people would find ways to use it. I just can't think of a specific scenario right now. But just as an overall opinion about the ability, I think it's pretty dumb. I really don't like this, at the start of the fight abilities that's just like you throw down one on like an enemy and it's obvious what you do it to, and that's just it. Just a one-click ability at the start of the fight, and that's it. It just doesn't have any dynamics or interesting parts about it. It just seems like a just very hardcore or hard counter kind of ability. So personally, I would I would like if they either redesigned it so it would be more interesting, or just kept it useless, or replaced it with an actual better ability that would be more fun and stuff.
What about you, Bales? What do you think of Neural Parasite in general?
I mean, I pretty much agree with Morrow. The only use I can actually see with the buff coming with it would be like Sky Toss and like Neural Parasiting the Mothership, because that used to be kind of a thing back in the day when Neural Parasite was a thing. You just take the Mothership and cloak your own army and like keep Neural Parasiting it. So that's kind of the only thing, because like you said, like Thors and Colossi aren't really made that much anymore. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. There's not like the really big key units to Neural Parasite. What about you, Nathanius? Any final thought on the Infestor?
I mean, it does feels like the way the game is played right now. The only, I guess, why people, I don't think an Infestor really has or even 9 range to make them useful against carriers, especially when they won't have any interceptors on them anyway. I don't know. I that unit, I guess, is just kind of for fungal, which works to some extent. So I don't really have any other thoughts on Replacer.
Okay. The next unit is the carrier. They're saying that they hear the feedback that the carrier is too powerful in the late game. Dumping interceptors is definitely giving them a lot of DPS, because even if you shoot down the carrier, they can dump the interceptors before they die. So what they think that will help balance it out is to increase the build time of the carrier to go back to how it was, which I think was 120 seconds. Because I think they nerfed it from 120 to 90. I wish he would be a little bit more specific with numbers when he does his posts like this. But he said there was going to be another patch tomorrow, so probably we'll get all the numbers tomorrow. And so yeah, carrier build time nerfed by 30 seconds. Bells, do you make a lot of carriers? Because it's
Yeah,
pretty much the only way to play versus Zerg, right?
right, exactly. I mean, Sky Toss is kind of what you have to do versus Zerg right now. And honestly, in like Heartless Swarm and Wings of Liberty, getting carriers where it's always powerful, it was just the build time getting there. So the fact they're going back on it is really annoying because I actually felt like they were still strong in HOTS and Wings. It was literally just the build time. Kind of how Ultras got the buff of the build time back in the day because they just needed more time to get them. So I don't know. I don't like it at all.
See, if you had to nerf the carrier in some way, what would it be?
I guess the DPS, it's so strong, like right now with what it does, with how you can position the interceptors and stuff. But like if they go back on the build time, it's just kind of like nerfing the unit entirely, and you probably won't see it as much anymore. And yeah, it just doesn't seem good.
Okay. What about you, Nathanius?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when they did all that stuff to like the maybe it's a bit of a stretch like in Wings of Liberty with like the Reaper where it was like it's kind of strong, so our solution is to just make it like really dumb to try and get it because it slows everything else down so much, and like that was why a lot of people didn't get it. I think that if you just either reduce its damage or find a way to make other units work better against interceptors, because they kind of spread themselves out reasonably well too, even against Splash. But I don't like the idea of it just being like, okay, well, guys, I guess we just can't get carriers anymore, you know? Like, I think there's probably some better way to just make the unit not so strong so that people still want to build it, but they don't have to, you know, wait forever to actually build to build a carrier.
Okay.
I don't like the nerf in that direction. I don't think it really helps anything at all.
Yeah, especially since Chrono Boost has been nerfed to 15%. So that's kind of that's gonna get even worse if they nerf the build time. Maro, any final thought?
No, I think carrier does need like to get nerfed because I think it's a bit dumb right now. But what I would really like to see is HP nerf, because the only way you're combating carriers right now is through killing the interceptors pretty much. You don't have that interesting dynamic where you like decide like, all right, do I want to build like Vikings to kill the carriers, or do I want to build Liberators to kill the interceptors? You know, you go for the interceptors. That's what every single race does, with the exception of Circuit. Sometimes goes like Mass Corruptor to kill the carriers, but in general, it's just always about killing the interceptors. So I would love to see a HP nerf instead, just for that reason. I think it is like it's very boring in Protoss versus Protoss. Like once carriers hit the field, the only answer to carrier is air units yourself, and then suddenly you have a Sky Toss against Sky Toss, which is just complete clusterfuck if you ever seen that. So an HP nerf would allow your stalkers to actually like do a decent job, like an acceptable, at least if you get like on top of them, without carriers function now, like how you can kite everything, because the interceptors are much smarter, staying on their target and so on, and the release interceptor ability, it just makes sense for the unit to the carrier itself would actually be killable, because you want to stay away with a unit like carrier if it has long range and can kite everything, just like with a Cyclone, for example, or Hellions or whatever. So that's what I would want to see. Another thing is like just increasing build time. I really hate that, that solution for a late game unit, because then you get the problem that you had in Harvest Storm with Ravens. Like Ravens are fucking amazing, or at least they used to be. Like if you get Mass Raven, like you win the game because it's so fucking strong. But it's okay. It has a lot of build time. No, it's not okay. Like what ends up happening is that players just sit around, like they just wait for their fucking Raven army, and they sit there for half an hour building Ravens, and then they move out and win the game. So having more build time, it just makes you just sit there for a longer time. It's going to be more downtime. So I don't think that's a good solution at all. I think it's pretty dumb. But I'm glad to see carry getting nerfed.
But even though it's not in our patch notes, I want to expand on that. So you say, like, for example, in PvP, once there are carriers, you're forced to do air or sky toss. And but there's other units and other races that sort of do the same. If we're talking liberators, you need, at least as a Protoss, you need to get like sky toss, or you can't do ground anymore. And the same thing for lurkers. You know, once there are lurkers on the ground, you don't have a choice. You have to get air units. Like just dealing it with ground only is extremely hard. And I'm a little bit sad that they haven't talked about nerfing the Liberator or the Lurker, and even the Disruptor. I feel like these three units are too extreme in what they do, and they deal too much damage. And so when these units come out, you just have to like let go of your army, and you have to make something new. Like you just anything that you have is not sustainable most of the time versus these units. Maybe it's just my view of the game. Maybe it's just me being a noob. But Nathanius, what do you think about that? Maybe Terran matchups are different, and Protoss is just getting bullied. But
I don't know. I think it's honestly just comes down to how you want to approach fixing problems. I don't think that, as far as the in-unit interactions go or whatever, that it needs to be something where it's like clear cut. Like I was like, the whole point was like moving away from counters. Like if it's really problematic, it just shouldn't. There's always ways to tweak stuff, but I don't really know. I kind of want to talk about the Liberator actually. That was such an interesting thing people are discussing.
yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts as well on like what he said about the taking the positions and whatnot.
Okay, Morrow.
What
Actually,
David
no,
Kim said
no.
or what?
Morrow, shut up. Bales, what do you think about the Lurker and the Liberator? Just like making you have to adapt your army, like like the Lurker. You walk into like 4 Lurkers and everything melts away, and then you're like, shit, I need air unit or something.
I mean, the lurkers pretty much force you to go sky toss. Like you can't do anything else. Like people say like disruptors are like hard counters to lurkers, but like it takes 2 disruptor shots to kill a lurker, and you can honestly just unburrow the lurker and like move it away. And it's not easy to do when they have like spread lurkers everywhere. So yeah, you kind of have to go sky toss right now. It's kind of the only thing you can do.
But what would you be open to like nerfing the Disruptor, the Liberator, and the Lurker? Do you think they do too much damage?
Actually, I don't think so. They just need to change other things to make more options, because having strong units isn't a bad thing. It's just they need to make it more fair in other ways. Like they don't have to nerf the unit entirely, because then it's just like soft counters to everything rather than hard counters.
Okay. So Morrow, having heard everyone's opinion, what are your final thoughts on this subject?
I think like everything in the beta right now is like imbalanced, especially the new stuff. I think like almost everything is just a little bit too strong. And that goes for Disruptor and just Liberator, Lurker. Like having them extreme right now means that we get to see them in play, and people can figure out like what the rules are. So it totally makes sense that when you ship out a new game with new units, you make them too strong intentionally just to make people use them. And it's only natural that they're gonna get nerfed. I don't think there's any question about it. Like lurkers, even when they get nerfed, they're still gonna fill the role that you can't just move into a bunch of lurkers. You're gonna trade horribly. Like disruptors are still gonna blow up your army even if the unit gets nerfed. Liberators, if you run into the circles, like your units are gonna trade terribly. Like this is the design of the units. It's not gonna change. But I think I'm on board with everybody else saying that they're just slightly too good at it. And I think it's like just makes sense that they would be right now.
Because like what I've been experiencing is that there's no amount of brute force once these units comes out. You can't just be like fuck this shit, and like even if you have like a clear army value advantage of like 2 or 3,000, you're not gonna brute force through lurkers. Just everything's gonna get fucking melted and die, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, but it's a little bit concerning that in this community update, he doesn't talk about it, especially since we're 1 month away from release. I mean, at some point it's going to be addressed, but it's a little bit sad that he's not talking about it right now. The last unit that he talked about today was the Adept. Actually, Nathanius, you wanted to talk about the Liberator, so I don't know if you want to do that now.
Oh, I was just thinking about it in terms of like cause I saw some people posting as well about like the visibility and whatnot of the circle. It's not really a big deal if you'd rather talk about the Adept, but I don't know. I still think the Liberator is really weird. Basically, I was just wondering what everyone else is thinking. 'Cause you guys have been playing more than me. I don't even know if people are building them.
What do you mean by weird? Like their place in the game, or?
Yeah, just like the sieging and setting up. I don't know. I had some pretty weird thoughts on it. I won't waste too much time talking about it.
No, it's not wasting time. Moral, do you think Liberators are weird? What about siege tanks with the drop feature? It's a little bit sort of the same, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I was always the guy saying that I don't think siege tanks should be like flying around. Like I realized the micro potential and all that, but I think we like removed the role the siege tank had, and now it's just this mobile flying unit pretty much. Unless like I guess if you have mass siege tank, but I don't know where you would build that. And it kind of, I don't want to say it ruined TVT, but they changed a lot about TVT. But I think they
Yeah.
sort of fixed it when they changed they added the delay when you dropped it, because that fixed a lot about TVT. Before that, you literally you had zero defender advantage. So like I think it's okay, but I would prefer it if they were like unsieged when they got picked up. Like Liberator, I don't think it completely clashes with the role that what's it called, the siege tank has. I think the units are already distinct enough. Like siege tank is splash, so it's always going to be better against Ling Baneling, and then the Liberate is better against single target units. So I think that's fine. I really like Liberator in the game.
Okay. What about you, Bales? Your thoughts on the Liberator?
I don't have too much thoughts on it. I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do. I mean, you have to kind of go Stargate it force. There's no other option in the early game. It's like you're forced down this tech path to just prevent your workers from stopping being mined. So, and also late game, it's like if they do mass liberators like Liberator Biomine, they can kind of camp like a group of liberators and zone out your mineral line because your Phoenix won't be able to. I mean, you're supposed to go in like Tempest or whatever, but I don't know. It seems like a weird place in TVP right now. It seems pretty strong too. I don't know about TVZ or TVT though.
Okay. I think, like, I've said it multiple times, and Nathanius, maybe you're gonna agree or disagree, but, like, the Liberator felt to me like it was added into the game because Zerg players were able to get an advantage in the early game and then mass mute us to the point of just bullying a Terran and winning with that. And so it feels like the Liberator is a straight band-aid for that specific scenario, and then eventually they added the siege mode because they're like, well, this is just a band-aid unit, but now we need it to be more diverse, and so they added the siege mode to give it more micro potential and so on. As far as like the unit itself, like I'm not too sold on it. It looks pretty, but it's just the counterplay, like the range from where it can siege and how much mineral it can harass seems a little bit silly to me, but I'm sure a lot of Terran players like the unit already that you can't really take it away.
Yeah, I mean the thing I like the most about the Liberator in the TVTs that I've seen throughout the beta when it came out is just that it's a really good unit you can use to push an advantage in TVT, especially. Like if you have air control and your opponent is turtling, like I guess some people maybe prefer the defender's advantage of siege tanks, and that maybe they don't like Liberators because of that. But I think if you have like an air lead and a ground lead in your opponent, just like kind of slowly spending out scans to hold a position long enough to try something, like that's fine and all. But if you have such an advantage that you can also get Liberators with that air control, like situations like that are where I like it. But I just feel like, especially for newer players, like Liberator is kind of like a weird unit where, you know, adding back the upgrade for the air to ground mode kind of helped this, but it can, I think, it can be like a really frustrating unit for especially non-Terran, because you don't always have that air presence in the early game. I guess it was a bigger issue for Zerg, but I've heard less complaining about it since the patch.
Yeah, ever since you need to upgrade for the Liberator, it's been such a relief. Like, you have time to scout it. At least you don't get fucking proxied and cry to sleep yourself to sleep. But yeah, that concludes the changes. Community feedback update from David Kim from today, October 15. We're really grateful to be getting these updates by him. It's nice to have some sort of communication about the beta. Next up, we've talked about this quite a lot, but it's getting fucking scary at this point. We've talked about rage unlocking, I mean, multiple times, like maybe 10 episodes out of 56. But at this point, I feel like this warrants another topic talk, because DRG leaves as Benu. DRG was making waves in Pro League, performing quite nicely, but decides to tap out of Esbenu and wants to join WCS. So, you know, Psystorm picks up two Koreans, True and Apocalypse. Now, Apocalypse might not be on the same level of True and DRG and Polt, and so that's not maybe as big of a concern, but it's still a lot of slots that could be potentially taken away from any player's spells. As someone who's been in Challenger this year, not Premier, right?
Challenger.
Yeah, Challenger. How does it feel to have your spot potentially taken away from you? They took our jobs, right? How does it feel?
Yeah. I mean, it pretty much comes down to, one less NA player for every Korean that comes to play in WCS America. So, if DRG comes over, and it looks like he will, I would assume maybe teams like Root or Psystorm will pick him up, just judging because they picked up True and Apocalypse. But
Nitro, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's pretty much what it is. It's another less NA player.
All right, Nathanius, you've been pretty vocal about it on Twitter today, asking your followers if there were any Koreans in the French league called Underdogs, and then obviously everyone replied to you. I'm pretty sure you knew the answer when you tweeted it, right? That there are no Korean players in the Underdog league.
Well, to be fair, I wanted to actually just straight up say it, but I hadn't really looked at it yet because I'd just woken up. But I saw the posts about DRG and whatnot. I just wanted to make sure no one like 4GG or whatever had like some way of playing, because at that point I didn't know. But I think it goes without saying that, well, the point I tried to make actually bringing that up was that the scene in France, a lot of those players got a lot better because there was a lot of local competition that kind of put them against each other at a point where there was a lot higher stakes, being able to beat each other. And I think if there's anything that we can learn from the French community, we're having constant tournaments where they're not having, we're not having outsiders, they're having, people come in and just come in to take, whatever money is there and make the competition heavily one-sided. It's that the competition being at a more even level when there's still something good on the line to be fought for, to be played for, it caused these players to get a lot better this year, even though they weren't playing against Korean players in these tournaments. And obviously these guys worked really hard. I'm not trying to say the only reason Lilbo won WCS is because he had a French-only tournament, but having that sort of system in place really helps and motivates a lot of other new guys that most people who watch StarCraft and like non-Korean players didn't know about, especially last year. Like 2015, like several players popped up just because of all that. Like I don't really feel it's necessary to go through all of them, but like I think it's been a good year because of that. And looking at WCS next year, if it's just going to be more Koreans, I still strongly think that people will want to watch people from their countries play and people being able to be in an actually competitive environment. Because WCS is not actually competitive if you look at it in terms of the players that it's designed for and the players that end up coming in and winning, like the Koreans. It's like it's not competitive for the Koreans because they sweep everybody they play until they beat each other, and it's not competitive for the non-Korean players because they never have an opportunity. There's almost no hope, period, that they're going to have any chance to beat the other guys because A, those guys don't play on the North American ladder, so they don't have any opportunity to practice against them. They don't play in NA online cups half the time, so they don't have any opportunity to practice against them. So you're in a position where the only way you're going to be able to play against these guys is if you play them on their server when you have lag, but that you don't play against, like, that's just not how it works when you end up playing them in a real environment, and you don't get a real practice opportunity. And I think that it's just something that if he continues to be grossly overlooked, like, I don't know, it's going to be really, it's going to suck. I don't know anything about the WCS format next year, but I mean, if I could have one thing, it would be, you know, the permanent, you know, proof of permanent residency. You know, if you want to play in WCS for a U.S. region, if you want to qualify as American, you know, you better, you know, citizenship or green card. Like, obviously, anything else, and you're just there temporarily. You know, I don't know that having an athlete's visa to compete in athletic events in the United States means that you can call yourself American. Like, that's just not how I feel. So, this is something I got really upset about, and you know, I hope that if DRG wants to continue to be a pro gamer, he can do it, you know, somewhere where he's actually going to live full time, somewhere he's going to actually practice and compete. DRG wants to move to America and apply for green card lottery or marry somebody and actually, you know, get a lease to live somewhere here. If he wants to do that and he wants to be American, he wants to play in American tournaments, by all means, go for it. But otherwise, he should play where he lives. He should play with the people that he practices with, and that's the only fair way to do it.
Very, very inspirational.
Yeah.
Moro, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree completely. The thing is, it summed it up very nicely. It's just not like people don't understand when people like me say like it's not fair, like they're better, and then they just go like, practice more. They practice more than you. Well, that has not been the case actually for many periods of time. Like pros like me, we have tried, like we did put in the hours to compete against the Koreans. We didn't like succeed, and there are reasons for that. You know, lack of infrastructure. We use the sheer amount of players. If you have 200 very dedicated players playing against each other, creating a meta game and all that, and then over in Europe we have like 20 guys who are dedicated, playing full time, practicing, creating our meta game. Like obviously the 200 guys are gonna come up with better stuff. And it's just like people don't realize this is just how it is. You can't just become the best player by yourself. Like you need competition. Like the ones you practice with need to be equally as motivated as you are, and then you need many players. Because if I have one guy who's as motivated as me, and we just play the whole day with each other, all day, every day, like we're not gonna become as good as other guys, because like you have a certain play style as a player, like your persona when you're playing, and you can't just be anyone when you're playing. So then when you play against other players, like your practice partner hasn't played that stuff against you, and then you get fucked. And that's what happens as a foreigner when you go to these events or whatever, and you face against Koreans. Like you play against the latest stuff from Korea that you've never seen before, and you just die to a new timing attack every time. That's how it is for the majority of time, as speaking as a foreigner who has actually gone to like very many events during StarCraft 2.
Yeah, but I mean, like there are chances that all this exodus can backfire. You know, Blizzard could hard region lock. There were a lot of talks at the summit and so on that can't really talk of the results of those talks. But it's just, you know, if so many of these Koreans are making the switch, maybe they have, you know, behind the scene details that we don't have. And getting a, for those that don't understand, getting a visa, athletic visa, is like about $6,000 of, you know, I think it's like a notary fees or whatever, like the people that like write this up and you submit, and then like all the fees, all like the visa costs you $6K, and winning a season of WCS is 25 grand. So for some of these players, just getting the visa, they'll get the money back, and then the team most of the time will pay the fees for you. So it's, you know, at the same time, you know, Psystorm, they have a lot of money, and it's nice that, you know, they picked up No Regret and that they're expanding the amount of money they're putting in the scene, but you know, is it worth it if you're bringing over Koreans that are gonna essentially like put out of a job any players? And so with the RG, it'll be interesting. We're gonna get a call in from Space.